Missing mom. I miss my mom. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, it was Mother's Day, and my three children, my three young adult children, and I celebrated Mother's Day. My husband had taken me out on the Friday night for a fabulous dinner to celebrate Mother's Day. And so Mother's Day for me was an amazing, wonderful, wonderful weekend. I just absolutely had a wonderful time. My daughter and I made pierogis, homemade pierogis. She's so good at making dough, pastry dough, and I'm not so good at it, but I'm great at making the pierogi part of it. And so we made homemade pierogies. So she rolled out the dough and I filled the dough up with potatoes and cheese, and then we dropped them in boiling water and cooked them. And they were so, so delicious. And we made a few other dishes as well. And my one son brought me flowers. My other son brought me a necklace. And my daughter brought me a gift. And actually she brought me, I did a video called the freeze-dried emergency food. She brought me all of this. I've been wanting it. The 30-year freeze-dried food that, you store away in case, there's a famine of some kind and you have it and you just add water to it. And so she brought me all of this freeze-dried food that supposedly lasts up to 30 years. And so I was so excited, and it took quite a while to put it all away. So that was wonderful. But anyhow, last night I wanted to post a little bit over on my Facebook and, post about my day. And I posted a photo of me when my kids were little and we were at the beach, and it brought back such wonderful, amazing, amazing memories. And then I posted another one of my mom and I, and when one of my children were really little. And it just brought back such a flood of memories to be with my mom. And I kept looking at the picture, and the more I looked at the picture, I just started crying because I miss my mom. My mom passed away about 14 years ago. She had a terrible case of Parkinson's and a form of ALS. And the last 3 or 4 years of her life were very, very challenging and difficult. And so I took care of my mom. I brought her from California through our move to Texas and back into Georgia. And I took care of her those last years of her life. And they were very difficult and very challenging years, but I am so glad that I took care of her. And I'm so glad that I did such a wonderful job because she had been such a wonderful mom to me. And so it really got me to missing my mom. I think sometimes people take their moms and dads for granted when they're around, and it's only when they're gone they realize how much they meant to them. And I'm kind of doing this video for people who might be taking their parents for granted and may not be really fully appreciating who their parents are. And our parents are, they're not necessarily perfect people. They may have a lot of flaws, but most often they have so much wonderful about them, as did my mom, I miss my mom so much. Every evening, no matter where I lived in the world, I would call my mom, even if it was only for a couple of minutes, and we would talk. When I lived in Europe, it was very expensive to call. So my mom came up with the idea of getting a fax machine. So she got herself a fax machine, and we had a fax machine. And so only for a minute of phone time, we were able to fax back a full letter to each other, a couple times a day. We would just write, "Good morning, how are you? I hope you have a great day." And she would fax me a letter and I would fax her back one. So it was only a minute of phone time to do that fax. And then we managed to get the phone rates down, and then we would talk on a daily basis again. And even then we would talk several times a week. And along with the faxes that came through a couple times a day from each end. And then when I got back to the States, of course, we talked every night on the phone. She lived in California and we lived all over the place. And then, when I lived in California, she lived in Palm Springs, and I would drive up from Newport Beach. And I would usually stay, about 2 nights or 2 days, at a time, about every week and a half. And I have to tell you, it was the most wonderful, wonderful time to be with my mom. My mom took care of me. Even though I was an adult, she took care of me. You know, she pampered me. She did my laundry for me. She made me a wonderful meal. She made my bed wonderful. I mean, it was just wonderful. My mom was wonderful. And I'm that kind of mom too. I'm that kind of mom. I got that from my mom. And so when I looked at the photo last night of my mom and me and my son, I just started crying because I realized how much I miss her, how I wish I could just talk to her, you know, like I used to. And so I sit sometimes out on the porch and I talk to her, you know, just kind of, hey, Mom, I hope you're doing well up in heaven. I'm sure you are. I'm doing well here. You know, that type of conversation. And so I do miss my mom. So if you have a mom or a dad and they're alive and, you know, no matter how imperfect, let them know how much you love them and fully embrace that relationship. Especially if you're, you know, an adult and you're living on the other part of a country, call your mom up on a regular basis. You know, I talk to my mom every day. And recently I met somebody and he was close to 70 years old. Well, I think he was 65 like me. And anyhow, he, which is kind of close to 70 if you round it off. Anyhow, he said, oh, excuse me. I was talking to his wife and him together. He said, I've got to go call my mom. She's 96 years old. And he talks to his mother every day. She lives in another state. And how amazing and how wonderful is that? Parents should always be a part of their adult children's lives, and their adult children should always be a part of their lives, okay? So I miss my mom. And I hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day, as I did, and enjoy being a mom. And really embrace, if you're a mom or a dad, really enjoy that. It goes by so quick where they grow up. And you're still a mom and dad once they're grown. Don't ever forget that you're still a mom and dad, even when they're 40 and you're 60, or they're 60 and you're 80. And, you know, my mom was 75 and her mom was in her 90s. And yet my mom still called my grandma up every day. And that was her mom. And my mom was her daughter. And so remember your parents and love them. From my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe. And I hope to talk to y'all soon again. Bye-bye.